Alright guys, so let me ask you something. Did you see the jobs report that just came out late last month? And think, okay, things might be getting better out there. Because that's exactly what the headline number is designed to make you think. The government reported that the economy added 178,000 jobs in April, the unemployment rate ticked down slightly to 4.3%, and the financial media ran with it like everything is fine. And guys, I just want to say I have a healthy amount of skepticism about that entire situation. Now, before I explain why, in case you're new around here, my name is Nima and welcome to the channel. I'm a corporate executive with over 15 years of experience in both sales and finance. My videos break down complex financial concepts to help you on your financial journey, whether you're just starting out or if you're already a seasoned pro. So guys, let's jump into today's topic, which is why the jobs report is misleading everyone right now. So let's go ahead and begin. Now, I need you to stay with me until the very end of this video because I'm going to show you data at the end that the headlines are not talking about. Data that tells you exactly why this is actually happening to real American households right now underneath all of the feel-good numbers. And guys, if you walk away from this video before we get there, you're going to miss the most important part. The headline number is just the surface. Let's actually dive into this a little bit deeper. Okay, first let's start with the April jobs report itself, because the way it got reported and the way it actually reads are two different things. Yes, 178,000 jobs were added in April, that is true. And on the surface, it looks like a solid number. But here's what they're not leading with. April was revised down sharply to show a loss of 133,000 jobs, meaning the month before this, supposedly a strong March report, the economy was actually shedding jobs. And in January, which was originally reported at 126,000, got revised up slightly, but it still came in weak. And so when you average out February, March, April together, the 3-month average sits at just 68,000 jobs per month. And that number, 68,000, is historically very, very low. Just to give you some context, a healthy labor market typically adds 200,000 jobs or more per month. So what we're looking at is one decent month sandwiched between a terrible month and a mediocre month. And unfortunately, the headline is treating it like it's a decent month. And the revision pattern here is something worth paying attention to, because this is how it works. They put out a headline number, and that sounds okay, and then a month or two later, they quietly revise it down when nobody is paying as much attention. And guys, this is not something new. This is a pattern. And the full year of 2025 data was recently revised down by 400,000 jobs, meaning last year's job market was even weaker than what we were told at the time. So now I quickly want to talk about that 4.3% unemployment rate, because this number in particular deserves a lot more scrutiny than it gets. When you hear 4.3%, it sounds low. And historically, yes, it is low. But the way that the government calculates that number leaves out a lot of people who genuinely are struggling in the labor market today. And when you include those people in the picture, it honestly looks a lot different. The official unemployment rate only counts people who do not have a job and actively looked for work in the past 4 weeks. So what does that mean? That means that if you got discouraged and stopped looking for a job, ultimately meaning that you want a job, you need a job, but you've given up applying, you are not counted. Right now, there are 6 million Americans in that exact same situation. People who are not in the labor force but say that they want a job. They are invisible to that headline number that we were just talking about. And on top of that, the unemployment rate ticked down in April largely because of the labor force itself being shrunk down, meaning the participation rate fell to 61.9% in its lowest since 2021. Guys, in plain English, part of the reason that the unemployment looks lower is because hundreds of thousands of people stopped being counted as for looking at work at all. When you use the broader measure of unemployment, that includes discouraged workers and people that are stuck in part-time jobs who want full-time work. That number sits at 8% right now. And that's nearly double the headline rate that I was just speaking to you about. And that's the number that they don't put in the headlines. And let me point out something else too that almost nobody's talking about. And that is the quality and the concentration of the jobs being created. When you dig into where these jobs are coming from month after month, the story gets a lot less impressive. Almost all of the consistent job growth over the past year has been concentrated in just a handful of sectors, primarily healthcare, social assistance, and government-adjacent roles. Guys, manufacturing jobs are not growing. Federal government employment actually declined that in April. The financial sector continues to show weakness, and the jobs that are being added in healthcare and social assistance, while real and necessary, they are not generally high-paying jobs that drive consumer spending and economic growth across the board. Meaning that layoffs are at their highest level since 2020, and they are concentrated heavily in tech, retail, and government sectors that tend to employ a lot of educated, middle-income workers. The JOLTS report, which measures job openings and hiring activity, showed that the hiring rate fell to 3.1% in April, a level that was previously only seen during the depths of the 2008 financial crisis and the early months of COVID. And I just want you to think about that for a second. The rate at which employers are actively bringing new workers on board is as low as it was during the Great Recession. And guys, that's not a healthy labor market. That's a labor market where companies are neither firing aggressively nor hiring aggressively. They're just frozen, uncertain, and waiting to see what happens. Now guys, before I dive into why the jobs report is misleading everyone right now, if you're gaining value from this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe. Your support helps this channel grow, so please show some love by smashing that like button, commenting down below, and subscribing. Alright, now let's discuss the next segment. So let's talk about wages, because we keep hearing that the wages are growing faster than inflation, which means Americans are getting ahead. And I want to look at that claim directly because the data tells a more complicated story. Wage growth came in at just 3.5% year over year in April. This is well below expectations and the lowest reading since May of 2021. At the same time, guys, consumer prices are still running significantly elevated. Oil prices have jumped over 40% in just the past 6 weeks because of the Iran war, and the OECD just projected that US inflation will average 4.2% for all of 2026. So the wages are growing at 3.5%, while inflation is projected at 4.2%, which means that in real terms, in terms of what your actual paycheck is actually buying you, you're actually falling behind. And unfortunately, you're not getting ahead, you're falling behind. And this doesn't even account for the fact that the inflation measure itself has been questioned by a lot of economists because the categories that hit working families hardest, things like housing, food, energy, insurance, have all risen at rates that feel much higher than what the official consumer price index shows. Housing alone is consuming over 40% of the gross income for workers earning medium wages right now. So when someone tells you that wages are outpacing inflation, I'd encourage you to ask yourself, does that actually match what you're experiencing at the grocery store or at the gas pump or when you look at your rent or mortgage payment every month? For most people, the answer is no, and the data underneath the surface supports that. Okay, now here is where the picture really gets unsettling, because there's a whole layer of data that barely gets mentioned alongside the monthly jobs report. Data that tells you far more about the actual financial health of American households than any government employment number. A record 6% of Americans enrolled in 401k plans made hardship withdrawals in 2025, meaning they pulled money out of their retirement accounts early, paid taxes on it, and potentially a 10% penalty because they needed the cash just to survive. Guys, that's up 5% from the year before and roughly triple the pre-pandemic rate of about 2%. The top reasons for those withdrawals were avoiding foreclosure or eviction, medical expenses, and home repairs. Not things like vacations, luxury purchases, survival level expenses, etc. Even credit card debt as a whole just hit a record $1.28 trillion with delinquencies, meaning people who can't make their payments, doubling from 4% in 2022 to 8% by the end of 2025. Student loan delinquencies have gone essentially off the chart. Total household debt delinquency rose from 4.8% in the fourth quarter of 2025, which is the highest level since 2017, and a sharp jump from 3.6% just 1 year earlier. And 7% of those retirees have returned to the workforce because they can no longer afford to be retired. And that's truly a record high level. So guys, I want you to think about all of that alongside the jobs reports that says unemployment is at 4.3% and basically everything is fine. Those two pictures do not match. And one of them is telling you the truth about what's happening to real people in this economy. So guys, as I wrap up this video, I want you to actually take this away. Because understanding that the jobs report is misleading is useful, but what you do with that information is what actually matters for your financial life. The trend on all of the data is just there to show you that it's moving in the wrong direction. delinquencies rising, hardship withdrawals rising, labor force participation falling, hiring rate recessionary levels, wage growth slowing, and now the whole Iran war layering an oil shock on top of an economy that was already showing cracks before the conflict even started. What this practically means is that job security right now deserves to be taken seriously in a way that a lot of people aren't taking it seriously. If you have a job right now and you want to be doing things that make you genuinely difficult to replace, building skills, expanding your value, making yourself visible as a high performer, make sure you stick to all of those things. If you are in a sector that is showing weakness, like tech, retail, government, financial services, you want to be building a financial cushion aggressively right now rather than waiting to see what happens. So what does that mean? 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved is not just a nice idea, it is an urgent priority in an environment where the hiring rate is at a great recession level and the average job search is taking longer than it has in years. And look, I know that this isn't the most uplifting video, but you deserve to know what the data is actually saying, not just the version that makes it comfortable for headlines. The trend is what matters, and right now the trend is telling you a very different story than the one being reported. Guys, I want to thank you for watching this video all the way through. Please subscribe so that you don't miss any of my future videos that I post every other day. Drop a comment down below and let me know what you're thinking and what you're seeing in the industry that you work in or even in the city that you're at. I genuinely read every single comment and I respond to all of them. So guys, thank you again for watching this video all the way through. I'll see you all in the next video.